haircut because this has been bad since Maryland. So Maryland was fun. I think it was our first full trip after a summer of like change and just being in flux and trying to get everything in order. For us to get to Maryland, get back with the entirety of the new rig, that was a good experience. So the F-150 towed really well. Everything about this vehicle was what we wanted. It pulled the trailer just fine. It gave us the fuel capacity that we needed to make less stops and therefore to be able to get to our destination at a much better time than we thought. Having Toby in the front, Toby, was kind of a little bit antsy the first day. By the second day, he's chill, relaxed. He knows he's gonna be up in the seat for a while, so he kind of just laid down. And then same thing on our way back from Maryland. We just kind of just relaxed from that point on. And then Michelle with Jackson and Henry in the back, they also that also worked out really well. And in fact, we're able to give Michelle much more legroom in this vehicle than we did even in the Armada. Her legroom was limited in the Durango as it was. So I think these two upgrades were really helpful for her. And she was able to lay down in the back and take a nap at certain points. So that was all good. So just a lot of positives on our initial trip with everything put together to and from Maryland. The one major thing that we encountered was Jackson's continued limits in terms of how much he could tolerate in the long hauls that we're driving, right? So he'll usually be good on the first day, and to and from Maryland, he was good on the first day. The second day, he was not having it. Like his tolerance for being in the car seat was so low. So he was just fussy, much more fussy than he was on the first day. And so we had to accommodate, that quite a bit. And so when we were on our way back, Michelle and I were talking about, well, we're supposed to go down to Texas, and that's another kind of 2-day drive. And I think Michelle has a bit of a PTSD being the one that has to cater to Jackson when, he's really not feeling the drive on day 2. So what we decided to do, and luck would have it, flights were pretty cheap, so we said, all right, why don't I drive down, and then Michelle and Jackson will fly down, probably the day after I get there. So our next trip as we get into October is going to be down to Texas, where it's going to be a bit warmer than it will be up here in Minnesota. My plan is to leave on the 20th, and then I would get into Houston on the 21st. From there, I'll get settled in, and then Michelle and Jackson will fly down from Minnesota into Texas on the 22nd. So we're going to see how that works. I'm hoping that when we flew with Jackson to Seattle earlier in the summer in June, he did really well on the flight. And Seattle was like a 3 to 4 hour flight. Minnesota to Houston to Texas is a bit shorter, so it's kind of like a 2 to 2.5 hour flight. So my hope is that any crankiness won't be there for Michelle when she's flying with Jackson on her own. The other thing about it for them is that Michelle really won't need to bring anything, because I'll have all their clothes and accessories and Jackson stuff in the trailer with me, and I'll have brought it to Houston already. So really, Michelle won't need to bring any luggage. She really just needs to pack like Jackson's food and maybe a couple of diapers to hold them over during the flight process. And Michelle will have our travel stroller, and that thing will just fold up into a small 10-pound kind of thing. And so with all that, it shouldn't be too stressful for her, not having to lug anything, and just be able to focus on transporting Jackson, and then they should be good for the flight. So we're gonna see how that works out. So like I said, from a travel perspective, we're going down to Texas. We'll be in Houston for a little over a week, and then we're gonna head over to Dallas for about another week. So we'll be in Texas for 2 weeks, and we'll get back up to Minnesota in early November. One more thing that we're gonna try to do this year is we're gonna snowbird. The destination that we picked was Panama City Beach, Florida. We'll be in Minnesota for the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Right after Christmas, fingers crossed that there's not much snow on the ground, we're gonna start to get ready to head down to Panama City Beach. Now, if flying with Jackson works out, Michelle and Jackson will probably still fly down. That means I will be taking the pets with me again from Minnesota, and then we're gonna trek down to Panama City Beach first, and then Michelle and Jackson will fly in the day after. And we're gonna be there for a month. So we got a reservation at one of the RV resorts down there. It was fairly like $1,200 for a month, and so we're gonna be down there for the month of January. I am really hoping that I could convince Michelle to stay down there for February too, and then March we will come back up in hopes that by that point, you know, a lot temperatures up here will be on the upswing, and we wouldn't be having to worry about coming to like sub-zero temps here in Minnesota. So one of the benefits of like us kind of discovering that maybe a good way for us to make it work, make these like long haul trips work, at least until Jackson can tolerate the drives a lot better, is for them to kind of just fly to those destinations. They would still stay in the trailer, and then I would drop them off at the airport a day before, you know, we're ready to leave. You know, if that happens, like it really opens up the country for us, because right now we're kind of handcuffed by Jackson's tolerance on drives, and if we're trying to go somewhere far and we're not going for long, and to spend like 2-3 days driving because your drive time is so much shorter, it's tough to justify those trips. So if we can continue to find cheap flights and Michelle and Jackson can just fly to wherever destination, it really opens it up, because I don't mind driving, you know, two, maybe 2.5 days to get to a destination, and for us in Minnesota, that could get us just about, you know, pretty much anywhere on both coasts. You know, I have desires to go to South Carolina, North Carolina, and the Outer Banks. You know, I think we're talking about snowbirding in Arizona, and we found some resorts down there super cheap, and we're like, oh, this is why everyone goes and snowbirds in Arizona, because it's so cheap from an RV perspective. So really hoping that a combination of Michelle and Jackson flying and me driving can really work out and in our favor, and be able to make help us continue to make these trips happen, and be able to stay in places longer as we move as we go about our travels. So this is just a quick video to let you guys know what's up. We're feeling good about, at the very least, our rig and setup. Obviously, you know, we're finding a solution to balance the travels, but we're looking forward to Texas. Hopefully, if Houston works out, that'll be a really good deal. And we're also looking forward to getting to Florida. January is just about that time when people start getting antsy up in Minnesota about just how cold it's been. So being able to escape and get down there, I think will be, as much as it might be just in the 60s or 70s, for Minnesotans, you know, 60s or 70s is like perfect weather for us. So we don't really mind it too much. But anyway, that'll be it for today, and we'll see you guys in the next video as I back into the spot here.